Hey guys, so with today's topic, headlight restoration, I know there's a lot of videos out there, but one of the main reasons why I want to do this is because it's been pretty clear to me that there is still so much bad content out there. Um, and I'll talk about that here in a minute. I'm going to definitely point my fingers at some people and might make some people mad, but that's okay. I'm going to talk about why I'm saying what I'm saying, and it's not to really bash people at all. There's a reason why people believe and do certain things, but that doesn't make it right. Just the same, it doesn't mean that what I'm doing is the only right way. This is going to be a right way, of course, and that's what I want to add to. I want to tip the scales and make sure that there's good, accurate information out there. And one of the things I want to make sure is explaining why this is a direction that you should be going. I know there's a lot of videos that talk about black and white. It's like, hey, if you've got a bad headlight, here's what you got to do. And it's not that black and white. There's not one right way. You have to take into consideration really what is the problem, and the problem isn't just simply a bad headlight lens. There's various degrees of that, and depending on how bad the lens is, depends on what you should do to repair and fix that. And again, I'm going to talk about that today. So I'm going to refer back to a video that I made probably about 6 years ago at this point. Old work vehicle. It's an old Honda. I don't even remember what year it is. I think it was 04 or 06 maybe, but that's going to be the vehicle you're going to see in the video. And as you're watching that, you can see that how bad the headlights are, and I would classify these as moderately damaged. Again, in that range. There is a roughness to the texture that is the factory clear coat that's coming off. Factories do clear coat these with UV protectant to seal it up. Otherwise, if plastic's just exposed to the sun and weather, it's going to deteriorate pretty quickly. So there is a factory coating, there is a protectant that's there. And when you see moderate damage, that is the clear coat that is peeling away, breaking away, cracked, very visible, very apparent. So to me, that's moderate damage. I'll talk real quick because we're not going to talk anymore about the high heavy damage. There's going to be ones that are so hazy, so destroyed that you can't see through them. Like if you turn on the headlights, it is like a glow. It is not really putting out anything onto the road. It's more of just a glow. So with damage that to headlights that bad, when it's that severe, what I recommend is just throwing them away. You got to replace them. If you do try to repair them, they're not likely to have a significant difference in them. Maybe a slight improvement, but not enough, I think, really to justify spending the time and money on a restoration kit to try and do that. So that's going to be my recommendation there, is to not waste your time with those. Most times the cost of replacement isn't that significant to begin with. So moving to the moderate damage that you're seeing here with the Honda. One of the things I'm going to start off with too, let's go ahead and just debunk this myth about bug spray. Again, you can see here, you can't really feel it, but there it is rough. These headlights have a lot of texture to them. A good amount of the clear coat has come off of them. They're definitely gray, hazy, yellowed, and so distinctive damage to that. It's not just all dirt that you're seeing. There is some dirt there, but mostly what you're seeing here is actually the damaged headlight, and so the light output on these is very well impaired. It's very much diminished. So you're going to see a process how to clean that up. The only thing I wish I had done was to show you kind of a before and after illumination. So that is a aspect of this video that is missing. But let's take a look at just what's going on with the bug spray. And bug spray, so you can see, okay, it's applied, it's rubbed on, and again, I know there's different, people talk about different ways of applying bug spray, what you got to do and stuff. I'm not going to get into all that, but I think that for demonstration purposes, you can see why My point is made of why bug spray doesn't work. So it's applied there, and you can see pretty quickly that there is a difference in that. It looks fresher, it looks cleaner. The damage seems to have gone away, not as apparent. The problem is that it's a trick. It's a trick of the eyes. If you've ever had dry, gray, flaky skin or anything, damaged skin, put some lotion on it. Just put a layer of lotion on it. What happens? Immediately, it's going to look fresher, it's going to look healthier, less damaged. Again, depending on the extent of the damage, not like it's repairing the lens. It's not like it is removing the damage, and it's not recoating it with anything that is considered to be UV protectant. In fact, you get going down the road with these, and in a quick rainstorm or even with some sunlight, that bug spray is going to wash off. It's going to come right off. It's not something permanent. But one of the aspects of bug spray is that it's going to have a little bit of oil in it. It's going to stick to your skin. It's what it's designed to do. It's designed to be applied and stay with you for a good amount of time. But on headlights, so yeah, it might stick around a little bit, but it's not repairing. Again, it's not fixing anything. It's not restoring it. It's not removing what's damaged. Even with skin, you got to sometimes take a loofah, remove that old skin stuff that's there. My wife's had to teach me that. So I'm using that example. So once you take off that old dead skin, so to speak, this old damaged layer, then you can then get really to the healthy part of it. So the part, in terms of the lens, the parts that's not damaged. That's what we were trying to expose, what needs to be done, and that's what bug spray just does not do. So it's a trick. If you're looking at selling a car and you want to real quick make those headlights look a lot better than they are, then sure, use bug spray, but don't fool yourself into thinking that it is fixing anything or restoring anything. It's just a trick of the eyes, people. Sad to say. So let's talk about how to restore headlights the correct way. One of the correct ways. You need to sand it. If you're talking about moderate damage, you're going to have to sand it. And so as you can see here, I've already started that on the passenger side headlight. So I may talk about it, the light on the left, but really that's the right side of the vehicle. But we've got to sand that. I've already started the process, so I'm going to try to move through this pretty quickly. So what that's done, you can already see here, is removing all of that factory protectant, that coating that on the driver's side was clearly kind of flaking and that dead skin looking stuff peeling away. Here, that's already started being removed, and that's with more aggressive sandpaper that you can get in a kit. 3M, others. Those are just a couple of examples. Many great kits out there. I'm not promoting one over the other. Just what I think most people have used or familiar with. And there's variations. There's stages in that. So you want to start out with a more aggressive grit. And I'll even say this: even with some of those kits, if you have even in a moderate range of headlight damage, sometimes I've had to take a grittier sandpaper, a lower number, to take that off because it just takes so much. It's so bad. Of course, what you're doing also in taking that off is you're scratching the lens surface, and so like here, you can see all that gray, and it just looks really bad starting off. Well, that's typical. You've put a lot of scratches into that to remove that old material, and why you up to a higher number, but it's a finer grit paper, then that's to remove those heavier scratches that are there. So you're still taking some layers off the lens, exposing some more of the healthy. You still use the skin example, healthiness layers of the skin to the lens that you are going to be removing those scratches as well that you've created with the heavier grit. And so what you're doing is you're going to be smoothing the surface of that. You're going to work your way down to 1500, 2000 grit paper. Most of those kits also come with wet sanding. I don't recommend doing it by hand. You can, but if you're like me, holy cow, it just kills my fingers and stuff because it can take a while. With that, if you're using the drills, word of caution, this comes from experience. You've got to move around and you can't go too fast. If you put too many RPMs on the drill or whatever you're using, or if you stay in one spot too long, you're going to create heat because what you're doing, there's friction being created there. You're going to heat up the pad, you're going to heat up the lens in that spot, and you're going to melt it. It's actually literally going to melt. And you want to avoid that because then what you have to do, you've got to start over. And there may be a layer or a chunk that comes out of the light with that. And you, again, just want to avoid that. So move around, don't go too fast when you're using a drill or whatever you're using. Move around consistently. Don't stay in one place. You're going to come back to it, right? So do it in paths. Do one section, come right down below it, and then just go back and forth. Okay, that's going to be best way. Take your time because if you go too fast, that's when you're going to make mistakes. That's when you're going to melt a lens. And again, it can be pretty easily fixed, but if you have to go back to a higher grit, something that's going to take that off, then you've kind of got to start the process again, not maybe over the whole light, but definitely in that area, and that can just be frustrating. So there's my advice there. So the next phase that I've not talked about, when you get to the 1500 and 2000 grit, wet sanding. So the wet sanding is one of the last phases. You really get to see how the lens is turning out. With the wet sanding too, it's going to look a lot clearer. You're going to see that it's going to be wet, and you're going to be like, wow, this really looks great. At this point, there's still some haze there on those lenses, and you'll notice that with the next step is you're supposed to, when you're done with the wet sanding, dry the lens off, and then that's when you're going to see it's like, oh, okay, it doesn't look as good as I thought. Why is that? Well, it's because now that water's gone, that coating's gone. So keep that in mind when you're looking at that and thinking about your options. So the next phase after that is going to be your polish. You got to polish it up. And I know I'm not showing those phases here in this video. That's okay because I don't think that needs to be demonstrated here. I'm talking about it. Those are the stages you go through. So you polish it up. Now, we're going to get to the key part here. After the polish, it's going to look good, and a lot of polishes that come in these kits have UV protection. They're good, I think, but where they have their limitation is like lotion or even the bug spray. Don't use bug spray at the end, please. But that's going to wash away. That's not going to be permanent. Same thing with these polishes that come with it. They've got good UV protection. You may get several months. I've had guys claim, I'm not going to debate, that they can get good 6 months out of one polish, and they only polish like twice a year. And maybe that's true. Depends on how much sun damage. Maybe they park the vehicle in a garage. I don't know. And depending on where they live, the weather conditions, humidity, those kinds of things. But I've also seen guys, maybe a month, 2 months at best, and they're having to polish again, or they're already seeing some deterioration in that. So keep that in mind that even though it's a polish and you do need to do a polishing step, you absolutely have to. Just keep in mind what I want to talk about and focus on today is that shouldn't be your final step. You've got to actually seal them, like we've talked about from the factory. You've got to seal the lens so that they are well protected and going to last a long time. I don't know about you. I don't have a lot of time to. I don't want to get out here, once even every 2 or 3 months and have to polish the headlights and reapply that. I don't want to have to do that. And you don't have to. If you go ahead and seal them properly, then this Honda right here, and I wish I could should have run out and took a quick picture of what it looks like now. It's been easily 6 years, and those lights still look good. They still look great. They don't need to be refinished yet with this process that I've used. So here's my recommendation. This was something that was suggested to me several years ago from the Maxima community. I kind of questioned it at first, but I thought, hey, easy, it's inexpensive, and readily available. I can just run out to Lowe's. It's Helmsman Spar. Yeah, you can get it at Lowe's. You can get it in a matte finish or clear finish. Certainly I recommend a clear finish. It has UV protectant already in it. Great weather, moisture resistance, everything you need from a sealant, because that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to reseal these headlights. So after the polish, before you get to the Helmsman Spar, and I want to talk about that a little bit more, after the polish, that is what you do, kind of the final stage to smooth the surface, to finalize any small scratches that may remain. That's what that polish resolves. That's where you're really going to clean it up. Things are going to look good, but you've got to remove it now. So unless you're going to keep it, but this is make or break it, right? Unless you're going to keep that polish on there and just keep polishing it, until the cows come home, then you need to remove it. Denatured alcohol. Take some of those blue shop towels, put some denatured alcohol on it, wipe down the lens. The polish has done its job. It's polished. What you're really at this point just doing is removing that protectant coating that's on there. And I'm not going to call it a sealant because it's not really sealed. It can wash away. It's not even semi-permanent. So take some denatured alcohol, remove that polish, because you want to create a good bonding surface for the Helmsman Spar. What you're going to do, you're going to use a 50-50 mixture of Helmsman Spar and mineral spirits. 50-50, don't need to mix a lot. You can see here in the small tub, and it looks a little dark in this tub I've mixed, but it doesn't go on dark. It's just, I think, part of, especially when it's thin. It's kind of like coffee, pour coffee out on a paper towel or something like that, and it's going to thin up. It's going to look more transparent than it does in the coffee cup. This is kind of the same way. So you've got a little bit of thickness there in the bowl because it's a little deep of the mixture. But once you apply that to the lens, as you can see here, it goes on very transparent, very clear, very crisp. It looks good. And there's different ways you can do it. You can use like a foam brush. I've done that. Probably, to me, I'll use a blue shop towel actually to apply. I know that sounds strange, but if you've got those, then do that. I wouldn't, if you got large lights, I would do maybe half the light and then rotate to a different portion of that towel, because those towels will tend to kind of break down and you don't want to leave any residual towel on the lens, and then that just complicates things. That's where sometimes those foam brushes can come in, and they're less likely to streak. If you use a bristle brush, of course, it's going to streak all over the place, and so I don't necessarily recommend that. But with the shop towels, you can do that and coat the whole thing. You can see here how good it turned out, and that was the whole purpose of doing it this way. So now that you've seen the final version of this and what I've done, again, this is just one way to seal them. It's again, readily available, inexpensive. You can do that. It's fairly quick. If you do mess up, it's easily to fix. You can just re-dampen the foam brush or the blue shop towel and kind of reapply something back over it, and it'll blend it back in. It should dry fairly quickly, not as quick as if you don't mix it with the mineral spirits. Mixing it with the mineral spirits does keep it from drying a little faster. But again, I hold with the mixing it down. Other aspects that you could use, you can use clear coat. I've seen people do that with the spray. I don't think that's I think that's a legitimate way to do it. And I don't know that you're going to get as long lasting out of it, but you're going to get a good time frame out of it, maybe a couple of years, depending on the spray that you use and how well it's applied. Again, you're going to have to prep that surface. You can't polish and then spray that clear coat on there. It's just not going to stick. If nothing else, it's likely to maybe even bubble on you, and then you're going to just have a mess on your hands. So whatever you use, you're going to have to use that denatured alcohol, remove that polish, and then apply that clear coat or the Helmsman Spar. They also now make some sealant specific to headlights, so you can look into that. Many different ways, but you got to seal it. That's ultimately the way you need to do it. Whatever you use, that's where I say there's more than just one way. There's more than one proper way to seal them, but you do have to seal them. So bug spray is not a sealant. That polish is not a sealant. Okay, that's why that stuff doesn't typically last very long. Hopefully that's been helpful to you. I do want to talk a little bit real quick about Chris, we ain't talked about the lightly damaged lights. Okay, well, and again, no one way. If they're lightly damaged, then you may not have to sand them. Or if you do, then maybe you go with your 1500 or 2000 grit paper, wet sand it, and polish it. You still got to reseal it though. Okay, just because the damage is light doesn't mean you can go without resealing it. It's because that original coating is breaking down that there's damage that's being endured by the light, and that's what you need to when you're sanding it or polishing it, you're kind of cleaning that up, right? But you're going to have to reseal it. So the ways of doing that, again, like I said, you can use just some 1500, 2000 wet sand and polish. You're going to see people talk about toothpaste. Well, guess what? Toothpaste is a polish, guys. That one's actually kind of, that one's on the nose. Not the toothpaste that is minty fresh, that has the, portion of it that has mint in it or mouthwash or whatever. That's not going to be the kind of paste you want. You want the kind of pure, white, solid paste, kind of your typical old-fashioned toothpaste, not that modern mouthwashy stuff. While I don't know, that still may work, to some degree. It has less paste in it, less polish, if you will, and mint's not going to do anything for the lens of the headlight, right? So, if you want to do that, you got some of that toothpaste, and sure, your headlights aren't that bad, but if you want to polish them that way, by applying that, you still got to seal them, right? So remember that. After the paste, use some denatured alcohol, remove any residual chemical that may be on there. So yeah, toothpaste is actually an option. Other than that, the light sanding or just a polish. Sometimes there's Plastex. I've used that a lot. It's worked really well, but it's more of a polish that is specifically designed for plastics and maybe headlights and stuff like that. That's the purpose of it. So it does a really good job, but even Plastex is not really. It will help repair when there's light damage, but it's not a sealant. It's not permanent. It's going to wash off, just like the polishers that come in those kits, just like anything else. So those are some of the several options that you've got to do that. If you have any questions, post it below. If you have any suggestions, again, I'm sure that there's many of you that use other methods or other sealants. Glad to hear it. Post below so other people can see what you're using. But again, this is what I've used for a while, and I found it again just easy and cheap to do. So I think that's what motivates a lot of people is what can I really just access really easily and isn't really going to be troublesome. But so there you go. Till next time, take care.